All right. Third thing that was assigned in this class over the break, when this was originally done, is to analyze these excerpts. Remember, this is not part of it right here. It's just the previous page, and the copying was done two-sided, so start with here. Now, this again is primarily for us just to get good at chord recognition techniques and figured bass. These are shorter than the 2 Christmas carols that we did, and less complicated because it's an excerpt from an anthology that's focused on things. It says, look, supertonic triads, 2-chord, right? Which means that in addition to 1s, 4s, and 5s, and inversions, and maybe 5/7s, but I don't know, I can't remember that. We'll see 2 chords in here. So it means you have to widen your thinking about the key to remember 1 and 5, but also what's 4 just before 5, and what's 2 just above 1. And then, of course, we get better at our figured bass. These are short, they're more focused. Usually you can see chord structures and things in here that we can follow and ignore the things, so these are going to go fast. I'm going to rip through these. You stop or slow the video wherever you want, okay? So, looks like I'm in the key of C here. No sharps and flats, starts with a C chord, ends on a C chord, C, E, G, right? So I'm going to put a big C right there. It's my 1 chord. Remember that in these excerpts here, most of the time these are roots and or thirds in the bass. So E is not going to be a 3 chord. So rare. Can happen, but you know, I suspect C, E, G, C, it's a C chord. So I'm just going to go 6 there to tell me this 1 chord has gone into first inversion. And then it comes back to root position, so I'm going to put 5-3 right there. Here I have an F in the bass, which is not part of the C, E, G chord. I suspect it's going to be a 4 chord then, right? So, and it is F, F, A, C, right? You can go like this, and if you get that out of your head, then you can look at it rather than juggling that at the same time. You know, if you can just see it, that's great too. Playing this on the piano as you go along would be great. This is my 4 chord. It's in root position. I don't need to put anything there. Here's a D, right, which is not part of FAC. Again, this is the focus of the chapter. So D, D, F, A. It's a 2 chord. 2 chords in major keys are minor. It's in root position, so I don't need to write the 5-3. It's understood or implied, right? Figured bass. And then here I've got a G, B, G, or G, B, and a G and a D, G, B, D. It's my 5 chord. You're going to learn this again and again, formally at some point, but just now you can just know that 2 chords love to go to 5 chords. It's my 5 chord. Here's my 5 chord again. It octave jumps here, and these all come down, and there's my 7th right there. So you just put a 7 right there. If it really bothers you, you can put a 5 there, but 7 figured bass is sufficient because the chord is the same. And then here's a 1 chord, because 5's love to go to 1, right? And we are just going to ignore those, right? Because it just goes through like that. Yay, we're done, okay? Again, it says, where do cadences occur? We're not dealing with that right now. That's not something you've learned yet. Later, we'll do analyses, and cadences will be something that are important. Okay, 4 flats. Are we in the key of F minor or A flat major? I don't see any E naturals in here, which is the leading tone of the harmonic minor version that would be taking us to the F. In fact, I see A flats and A flats. Got a feeling that we're in the key of A flat major. Okay, again, analysis becomes difficult if any of these things are difficult for you. So you might be great at spelling chords, but if you don't know your key signatures, this is hard. If you don't know your scales, to think what's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc., that's also makes it slow down to a grind. If you don't read bass clef or something like that very well, that slows you down. So you should be thoughtful about if this is a grind for you. If you're like, oh, I hate analysis. It's just one or more of those skills that are not sharp for you. And you can fix that and be like, I'm really good at this, and feel great about it by obviously doing more of this, but you can put some time in and say, I need to practice this or that skill, right? All right. Now, the melody stuff will have lots of chord information in it, like that looks like a chord and that looks like a chord, etc. But sometimes it has like parts of a chord and then part of probably not the chord and stuff. You want to get away from looking at this first unless it just speaks to you, because look here, these look like chord shapes. Boom, chuck, chuck, boom, chuck, chuck, boom, chuck, chuck. And it doesn't have to be every note of the chord, but just enough of the important ones. So the first thing here is probably my roots, or maybe thirds if it's inverted and stuff like that, okay? There's my A flat, E flat, A flat. This is A flat, C, E flat. It's a 1 chord, right? And remember that when we do figured bass, we look at this all as 1 chord, and this is the thing that gives us whether it's inverted or not. So imagine squishing these together so that it looks like this, right? Not like here and then, so we wouldn't go root position and then second inversion. It's just root position for the whole thing, okay? So, and that's the way I'm gonna go with this. So we're not looking here and here and here. We're looking at all of this squished together and all of this squished together. So 1 chord, D flat's not part of the A flat, C, E flat. D flat's gonna be my 4 chord. If you're not sure about that, write out your scale, right? And there's my D flat and my A flat, and there's my 3rd right there in case you're going. This means that this is not part of it. 4, it's in root position, right? Okay, and then this is going to a B flat, and then F and B flat. Looks like my 2. There's my 3rd of the chord right there as well, and this is also making that triad. So 2 chord, right? It's in minor. 4 likes to go to 2 on its way to 5. 2 likes to go to 5, and so we expect a 5 chord here, which is E flat, and B flats, framing that up. And there's my 3rd of the chord right there. I don't see a 7th, it's just a plain old 5 right there. 5 likes to go to 1, or it could just stay to itself. So it doesn't go to the A flat. We have E flat, B flat, D flat, E flat. That's my 7th right there. There's my 3rd right there, E flat, G, B flat, D flat, right? Okay, this is kind of interesting. So it's 5, but not a triad anymore, a 7th, right? Invisible 5-3. And it stays there, kinda. The E flat's there, it would suggest 5, but look, we have a C and an E flat and an A flat. It's that 1 chord in 2nd inversion, right, with the 5th and the bass. And here's this thing here again, right? And so that's my 5-7, and this is all leading up to a cadence. This whole thing right here is dominant function. In other words, I have my 5 chord cruising along here, and I ornament it with the notes of the 1 chord, but then come back to it, and the bass is the thing that's telling me it's dominant function. So we put a bracket under all of it, and we put a 5 underneath there to tell us it's dominant. And this goes to my 1 chord right there, okay? All right, next one right here, Beethoven, 6 variations. Looks like I'm in the key of G, 1 sharp. This is a G chord right there. It's a G chord right there. Doesn't look like it's going to be an E minor. So, boom, like that. Now, see these here? They look like chords to me, and we're going to hear this do da da do da 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 da, right? Like do mi so so ti. Fa, do, mi, so, la, do, so, or la, do, la, sorry, mi, so, do, right? Fa, la, re, etc. And so we're going to look at each one of these as a chord. And obviously this is going to help, but this is where you're going to see your structure right there. There's a 1 chord, and we don't go 1, 1, 6, 1, 6, 4, because these are all squished together. You hear the first one in the group as the defining part. 1, this is a 5 chord, right? D, F sharp, A, C is my 7th, so I'm going to throw a 5-7 on there. 5s like to go to 1. There's another 1 right there. And you can start to go fast because you can say these are all the same. You could even like skip. In fact, maybe I'll just do this for you right here. Like, look for a second. There's another one of those. There's another one of those, right? There's another one of these right there, right? There's another one of those, and that's just going to there, right? So you could kind of like, ignore like it linearly and just go and find the things that are easy to find. Just like find everything that's the same. This is a D, F sharp, A, and it's the same one there. So it's like 5 and 5. You don't even put that there. You know, that's pretty good. Let's go in and dive in and look at a few of these other things now. This is a B and a G and a D, and I guess this is the first of the group, so that's going to be like a 1-6, right? Come from the 1, right? G, B, D, but the B is the first note you hear. B and G, B, D. It's another one right there, right? So it's still 6. I'm just going to put that in to remind us. This is wholesale different. This is a C, E, and an A, and there's more E's there. And if you spin that around, right, it's A, C, E, right, which is my 2 chord. And the C is the first note right there, so it's going to be first inversion right there. And we know that 2 likes to go to 5, so that makes sense. 1, this is a little interesting here. It's got the notes of A, C chord right here, which would be like my 2 chord, maybe. That's got the D as well right there. So D is like a 5 chord, right? D, F sharp's missing A, C. It's like my 5/7, right? But then what's with this G right there? This is not important. And this is a non-chord tone you don't know about. It's called a pedal note. It gets its name from when you used to play organ, you put your foot on the pedal and hold it there out, and you play other chords and things like that. This would be tricky on your own without that as a context. This is not part of the chord, and that's not part of the chord, right? Now, the only other thing is you might say, well, why are we not doing 5, 4, 3? Because this is our lowest note. And there's another rule you don't know about pedal tones, which is when you have a pedal tone, it messes up your figured bass, and you just ignore figured bass at this point. You don't worry about it. You say, it's clouded out because of this. So it is a D, F sharp missing, but A, C chord. It's a 5/7 chord, but because there's a pedal tone, it messes up the figured bass. We just call this a 5/7 and ignore figured bass right there. Okay, this looks the same as that right there, yeah? So that's a 2/6, right? A, C, E, third and bass. Here, we have that cadence or ending idiom. Here's a G, B, D, and the 5th is in the bass, so it's a 1, 6, 4, and we remember that when we do this at a cadence or an end of a phrase point, that's going to a 5 chord. It's all 5 chord. This is this here's the D, and the D telling us it's a 5 chord, and this G is coming down to here, so the 4 is going down to 3, and this right here should be going down to the A. It's missing, but it's going up to the 7th instead, so we get this like 7, 5, 3 form right here coming off of this. All right, we're done that. Let's keep going, huh? Not that one. All right. Mozart. Just gonna make sure we're still in camera frame here. Okay. Looks like no sharps and flats, and C's and G's are prominently there. So we're in the key of C, sort of entry level excerpts, they making it easy for us. Now, I would sandwich this all together and look, see, it's like C chords, right? You can see this, they all get sandwiched together. C, G, C, E, it's all C chord. This can help us, but it's not necessary all the time. So that's my 1 chord right there. That's just not important. This is one of those times where an accidental is just for flavor, right? G, B, and F. No D, well, I guess the D's right there, but it's GBD with an F. It's a 5/7 chord. This tells us what inversion we're in. This just fills out the chord, right? And then still G, G, D, and F. It's more of the same, right? And then 5 eventually goes to 1 right here, like that. You can see this is a chord. You can see that it's changing every measure at best, right? Now, here's an E, but you still see these C, G structures right there. This is just taking myself from a 1 to a 1/6. I guess because of the publication going across the system, I'm just going to put another 1 there so it's easy to see. I don't have to reference back up to here. Here I've got an F, and you might think 4 chord, but you see these D's right here? And also this is a supertonic or 2 focus chapter excerpt right there. So D, F, A, F. It's my 2 chord, D minor, but because the F's right there in the bass, it's first inversion, not 6/3, just shorthand 6. Hopefully you're used to that now. And then here I've got a C chord again, like C, E, G, but the G's in the bass. So that's a 1, 6, 4, and hopefully you're getting used to this now. There's my 5 chord. Looks the same as here, yes? Right? G, B, D, right? Kind of thing. There's no 7th on this though, right? So it's just a 5 chord. And this is one of those times where we say, 1, 6, 4, you don't really have your own identity. You get to be part of the 5 chord team. This is my 1. I always like to go to 1. Okay. This should be much simpler for you than those other Christmas carols we did because of the limited scope of both the chords, and they're giving us a sort of examples that are easy to tell where the chords are. Okay. Chopin. Now here, we're 4 flats again, so it could be F minor or it could be A flat major. But you see how there's an F to start there, and that's an F minor chord right there. See this E right there? So we're going F, G, A flat, B flat, C, D flat, E flat, and then F. But remember, this gets raised to an E natural a lot of the time so that we can build a C, E, G, and B flat, a 5 chord that's dominant, and the E pushes us to the F. It's a leading tone. That's why we have a harmonic minor scale or variant scale on this. It looks like I'm in the key of F minor. How do we do that? Well, you can make a little f and a colon, or if that seems suspicious to you, you can go like this and go F minor or a little F minor. Either one. You're just going to make it clear that it's the minor key. Okay? So now, chord qualities will be a little different than what we're used to. This is an F, A flat, C. It's a 1 chord, but it's minor, so it's that, not like that, right? This all looks like F chord. This is scrunching up, and F, G, B flat, F. This is one of those times where you say, is this one of those things where you have a pedal tone? It's tough to say because it's scrunching up into what could be like a G, B flat or part of the C chord, C, G, B flat. But they see these Fs going through. Kind of depends on what you want to do here. Like, these could be pedal tones, and this could be part of my C chord, which, you know, makes sense, like 1, 5, 1 with pedal tones, right? Or you could just say, no, this F and C is all the way through, holding it steady, right? For me, I'd give myself a nod to, kind of looks like a C7 sound there, but I'm not going to bother analyzing it. Or if you want to, you can call these pedal tones right there, and then this becomes a 5-7. You know, there's enough there that you can hear it both ways. And then this is back to my 1 chord. B flat, F, B flat, D flat. Remember, this is D flat because of this. So that's my 4 chord, but B flat, D flat, F is a minor chord, not a major chord, right? So we don't want to have this. This is the #1 place where theory students start to make mistakes, is they get the chord quality wrong and they lose like a half point because your quality is wrong, and you sit there and go like, all my money, all the points that I could have been taxed by little mistakes like that. Okay, here's one of those ones where I have this ugly sort of thing going on here, and I might suggest, if you're on your own, to ignore it for a minute and just say, well, what's on the other side? F, A flat, C, this is my 1 chord, and then F, G, B, this is kind of the same thing. Now, is this a 2 chord? I think it might be. G, B flat, D flat, F, G, B flat, D flat, F. That seems like a 2 chord, right? And 2s are half diminished, right? And then this is the 7th in the bass, right? So 2. All right, now let's go backwards from here. 1, what likes to go to 1? 5 chords, C, E, G, B flat. There's my 5-7, right? Here's a F flat, A flat, C in first inversion, so that looks like a 1, 6, 4, and we know what to do with those. We put a bracket underneath and we call them all dominant function. Here's my A flat, F, C. This looks like a 1, but it's in 6 inversion, right? First inversion, 3rds in the bass, F, A flat, C's. And then here's my G, B flat, D flat, B flat. It's another 2 chord. Now, because there's no 7, it's just 2 diminished, not half diminished. Half diminished can only happen when you have a diminished triad and a 7th that's not making it fully diminished. But it is an inversion, so this is a 2 diminished 6. But later, when there's a 7th on there, we have to think of it as a half diminished, right? And let's flip over the page. Seems to be continuing. I'm just gonna remind ourselves that we're in that key. This is a 1 chord right here, F, A flat, C. Now, given that, and that 2s like to go to 5 chords, You may just say, nah, these are all non-chord tones, and just stick with the one. Just like we could have said, this is not a 5-chord here, it's just a one with scrunchy things. And I think that's reasonable to say, but it doesn't hurt us in analysis to identify the actual notes and say this is chord. The reason why I would say this is not a 2-chord in truth, functionally, like it is spelling it, but functionally it doesn't feel like a 2, is that 2 likes to go to 5, and it doesn't. It just goes to 1, just like this one stayed on the 1. All right, let's finish this out. They gave us that. Remember we were saying, oh look, in the hymns before, this is the 5 of a chord. It's like tonicizing that. So that's what they're giving us here. And then this is the F, A flat, C, E flat. It all looks like this is all just part of that, or A natural. So we would expect it to go to a 4 chord because it's the 5 of the 4, right? And so B flat, D, F, yeah, it's a 4 chord, right? All right. And then it says, that's just to remind us that that's not in effect anymore. This is just a 1 chord right here. Isn't it nice that we don't have to talk about figured bass much anymore? When we see those, it's understood there's a 5-3 there. And here's the same thing here, so it's 4. And there's the same thing there, so it's 1. And then they gave us the half diminished right there, right? Because they didn't expect us to know this. Which is another reason why, since they didn't mark it here, we probably don't want to think of that as 2 half diminished. Right, anyhow. C, B flat, E, and a G holding over is a C, E, G, B flat, right? It's a 5-7 chord, which 5 likes to go to 1. All right, thank you, Chopin. This is Chopin, right? Yeah, troublemaker. All right, last one, I think, for this, and it's Beethoven. So, 1 sharp, probably key of G. Looks like we end on G's here, start on G's here. It's not going to be the key of E minor. There's no D sharps in here anywhere. So it looks like I'm back to good old solid major ground. This is a 1 chord, right? And that's also 1. Here it's different right there. We're going to have to track these a little closer, I think. This is a D, F sharp, A. So that's my 5 chord. But it's in first inversion, so shorthand 6 for 6-3, and then it inverts itself back, so we're in root position now, and here's where we would write in the 5-3 to tell us that we've canceled that out. And then this is 5 going to 1, here's my G again, and that's just a jump down the octave, and here is an interesting thing. This is not part of the chord. C, D, B doesn't work. And we're not thinking this is a G chord because the C is in the bass, and that sort of holds our ears supreme right there, okay? So, as a C chord, these are passing through, C, E, C. I know there's no G there, but there's enough, right? So it's my 4 chord, right? C chord is 4. And then it has an A here. So this is kind of interesting. C, E, A. Not going to work. A, C, E. It's an A chord, A minor. A is 2, right? And the 3rd is in the bass. So there we go. 2 likes to go to 5. Look, D and an A, D, F sharp, A. There's my 7th right there, right? So this is a root position, 5 with a 7th. And then this is my G structure right there. 5 likes to go to 1. We can ignore these things because they're just embellishment over top of this. Still a 1 right there. Bottom half. G's with B's and G's feels again like the 1 chord. Now, do these count right here? Maybe. Let's take a look. We've got C's right there and C's and A's. But we have the G going on. I just think these are passing tones. They can imply some function, but it's okay. More 1s, 1s, 1s. Again, they're just neighboring tones and things like that. They're going with the melody, right? And then from the, we have a C, 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 and an A. Well, it's going to be something, right? Is it an F sharp chord? I don't think so. I think since this is my 5 chord right here, in fact, let's do the thing where we ignore this for a second. 1, D's with the F sharps and the C. This is my 5 with a 7th right there, right? Well, what's not 1 that likes to go to 5, and that's probably my 2, right? A, C, E. I know there's no E specifically in there, but A, C, E. We've got the A and we've got the C. So this is my 2. C is in the bass, like that, just like that. And woo, this goes so much quicker than the last one. Nice short excerpts. All right. Again, just to clarify, you got to be able to recognize your key, right? From key signatures and stuff that's going on, because all the numbers of the chords are predicated on that. Okay, if you're slow at that, or your scales, because you got to know what the 1 chord and the 5 chord, and then occasionally 2s and 4s and 6s and things like that are. If you're slow at calculating that, or you're not sure of the quality of the chords in a major or minor key, that will gum up the works there. If you have a hard time reading notes in either of the clefs, or if it's hard enough to spell the scales that while reading notes you can't do one or the other and you have to write them down, that's a fine accommodation to do right now, to write out the notes and then look at them and figure out the chords. But any of these areas that are less strong than they should be will grind your, oh, I'm doing analysis from, okay, I just got to do some homework or it's even fun, to, I hate this, it's so hard, it's like I can do it, but it's a big effort and stuff like that. Well, that just tells us we have to go in and we have to fix one or more of those things so that it functions really well. And then finally, you just have to do enough of these so you start to recognize that's a chord, this is a chord, this is a chord, that's a chord, this is, you know, that's a seasoning / experience thing that happens as you go along. Analysis is easy, it's fun. The one thing we're missing from these is that you can hear these. Now I can hear them in my head, and so I'm able to go ahead and do these things for you. But when you're doing homework, analysis, or anything like that, get in front of a piano, plunk it out, get it in your ears. If you can find a recording, that's good too. That's an important step so that you know what you're doing. Otherwise, it's kind of like being a novice guitarist or ukulelist, and you have to shift up the fingerboard, right, without looking down at your hands. Eventually, you get good enough so you don't have to look at your hands. But when you do analysis without really knowing what it sounds like, you're kind of flying blind there, right? You're not hearing what it is, and that's actually really important. So we didn't do that here because the setup doesn't allow me to do that, because I can hear these things in my head already, and I can go through and do this. And we really wanted to focus on getting you more repetitions of chords and figured bass. But as we do more and more analysis, especially when you're left on your own to do it, we really should plunk these things out or sing through them. Yeah. Okay, good. See you in class.